In this video, I'm going to talk about divisibility rule for 2 up to 10. So let's take for example, we have a number 135, and your task is to know if this number is divisible by 3. So how will you do it? So of course, we're going to try to divide these two numbers. This 135 divided by 3. So 13 divided by 3 is 4, since 4 times 3 is 12. Then take the difference, which is 1. Bring down 5. 15 divided by 3 is 5, since 5 times 3 is 15. And take the difference, which is 0. So that means there's no remainder. So therefore, 135 is divisible by 3. Now how about this? We have a number 2,410,572, and your task is to determine if this is divisible by 3. Now how are you going to do it? Are you going to do the same method? Doing the same method will take a lot of time for you to get the answer, as this involves a very big number. This is the reason why you need to learn divisibility rules, as these rules will help you determine faster if these big numbers are divisible by these smaller numbers. Now let's say we have these numbers 30,816, 312,410, and 3,015,207, and we want to know if these numbers are divisible by 2. So what's the rule for divisibility rule for 2? So a number is divisible by 2 if the last digit of the number is either 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. Observe that these numbers are even numbers. So we may say it, or in other words, a number is divisible by 2 if the last digit of the number is an even number. So let's look at the numbers. So the last digit for the first number is 6 and it's even. So this is divisible by 2. The second one is 0, which is also an even number. While the third one is 7 and it's not. It's an odd number. So we have these two numbers which are divisible by 2. Next is to identify if those numbers are divisible by 3. So the divisibility rule for 3 is if the sum of the digits of a number is divisible by 3, then the number is divisible by 3. Now let's apply it to our given numbers. So let's add the digits. So the sum of these digits for the first number is 18, which is divisible by 3. That means the entire number 30,816 is divisible by 3. Then the second number, the sum of the digits is 11, which is not divisible by 3. Then the third number, we have a sum of the digits which is 18. So it means it is divisible by 3. So we have two numbers which are divisible by 3, 30,816 and 3,015,207. Next is we want to know if those numbers are divisible by 4. So the divisibility rule for 4 is if the number formed by the last two digits of a number is divisible by 4, then the entire number is divisible by 4. Now let's apply it to our given numbers. So for the first number, we have the last two digits, which is 16, and it is divisible by 4, which also applies to the whole or the entire number. Also, we have the last two digits for the second number, and it's not divisible by 4 because it's 10. That means the whole number 312,410 is not divisible by 4. As well as the third number because it ends with the last two digits 07. So 7 is not divisible by 4. So we only have one number, which is 30,816. So you can check it using calculator if you want to know if it's really divisible by 4. Next is we want to know if those numbers are divisible by 5. So the divisibility rule for 5 is if the last digit of the number is either 0 or 5, then the entire number is divisible by 5. So let's apply it to our given numbers. So the first number ends with 6, so it is not divisible by 5. And we have the second number, which ends with 0. That means the entire number is divisible by 5. And our third number ends with 7, so it is not divisible by 5. So we only have one number that is divisible by 5. So next is we want to know if those numbers are divisible by 6. So the divisibility rule for 6 is for a number to be divisible by 6, it must also be divisible by 2 and 3. And what are those rules for 2 and 3 again? The rule for 2 is the last digit of the number is even, and the rule for 3 is the sum of the digits of a number is divisible by 3. In other words, for a number to be divisible by 6, it must end with an even number, and the sum of the digits must be divisible by 3. So let's apply it to our numbers. So we have the first number, which is divisible by 2 and also divisible by 3. But then the second number is only divisible by 2. And the third number is only divisible by 3. That means only the first number qualifies for the divisibility rule for 6. So this number is divisible by 6. Next is we want to know if those numbers are divisible by 7. So the divisibility rule for 7 is subtracting twice the last digit from the rest gives a multiple of 7. So let's apply it. So we're gonna take the last digit of the first number and multiply it by 2, which is 2 times 6 is 12. And so we're gonna subtract it to the remaining number. So we have a remaining number 3081. Subtract it with 12. And then we have this. So now we will determine if this difference is divisible by 7. If it's divisible by 7, then the original number 30,816 is also divisible by 7. But then 3069 is still too big to know if it's divisible by 7. And so we will keep on doing the same method until we are confident enough to know the answer. So we will take the last digit, multiply it by 2, and subtract to the remaining number, which becomes 306. And so the difference is 288. Continue. Take the 8, multiply it by 2, then subtract. So the difference is 12. And having this 12 is enough for us to know if it's divisible by 7, which is actually not. So that means 30,816 is not divisible by 7. How about the second one? Let's take the last digit, multiply it with 2, which is 0. Then subtract to the remaining numbers. So it will be the same since it's subtracting by 0. Take again the last digit, times it with 2, and subtract to the remaining. So the difference is 3122. Then continue, multiply it by 2, so the result will be 4. And taking the difference, it will be 308. Take again the last digit, times it with 2, and subtract. So the difference is 14. And 14 is divisible by 7. That means the original number is divisible by 7. Next is we're going to take out the 7 and multiply it with 2. So it is 14 and subtract it to the remaining numbers. So the difference is 301,506. Again, the last digit will be multiplied by 2 and subtract. So the difference will be 30,138. 8 times 2 is 16. Then take the difference, it will be 2,997. Take the last digit, multiply it by 2, so the difference is 285. Again, take the last digit, multiply it by 2, so it will be 10. 28 minus 10 is 18. And 18 is not divisible by 7. So that means 3,015,207 is not divisible by 7. And so we are back to our numbers, and let us put 7 to our second number since it is divisible by 7. Next is we want to know if those numbers are divisible by 8. So the divisibility rule for 8 is if the number formed by the last 3 digits of a number is divisible by 8, then the entire number is divisible by 8. So let's apply it to our numbers. So the first number has the last 3 digits, which is 816. And we are going to try to divide this by 8. So I will not show anymore the procedure or the method of dividing this, since it is expected that you know how to divide numbers. And so I will just put the answer directly. This is actually divisible by 8. That means the whole number 30,816 is also divisible by 8. Now the second number has 3 digits, 410, and this is not divisible by 8. So the entire number is not divisible by 8. And also the last number is 207. So the entire 3,015,207 is not divisible by 8. And so we only have the first number. Next is we want to know if those numbers are divisible by 9. The divisibility rule for 9 is if the sum of the digits of a number is divisible by 9, then the number is divisible by 9. Now let's apply it to our given numbers. So let's take the sum of the digits of the first number. So the sum of the digits is 18, and 18 is divisible by 9. While for the second number, the sum of its digits is 11, and 11 is not divisible by 9. And for the third number, the sum of its digit is 18, which is the same as the first one, which is divisible by 9. So that means the numbers which are divisible by 9 are 30,816 and 3,015,207. So last is we want to know if the numbers are divisible by 10. So the divisibility rule for 10 is if the last digit of the number is 0, then the entire number is divisible by 10. So let's apply it to our given numbers. So the end digit must be 0. So observe that our first number doesn't have a 0 in the as the last digit, so it's not divisible by 10. But for our second number, it ends with 0, so it's divisible by 10. And the third digit has 7, so it's not divisible by 10. So let us put 10 for our second number. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have learned from this video. Please support my channel by pressing the subscribe button. And also, you can write the math topics you want to learn in the comment section.